My first question, my first part of the question actually leads in naturally to the discussion we're having. I was going to ask you, Professor, about the revival of our movement as an active political force in the light of what is likely to happen, in terms of our being needed as a political force should there be the campaign that Labor suggests they'll run. We're going to need to oppose it in the regions, the states and throughout the nation and beyond. So that I hope we'll hear something about. And also as a subsidiary of that, many members I know interstate have drifted off the system, and I hope there's some way now of putting us back on. And if we have to fill in a form to do it, well then some way of telling us rather than the back page of the Spectator, which is an excellent way of finding things, but not the only way. Having said that, of more substance, may I ask, we now are in an environment we were not in the 1990s, although the makings and foundations of it were there. People with the views we would all express in this room are now being actively suppressed in highly creative ways. If we have to run a campaign for our constitution and touch on the issues we've touched on this morning, and particularly that of monarchy, are we going to be opposed in all the ways that are now opposing speakers who dare set foot on universities? Massive costs involved in suppressing creative dissent, actively working against people who express perfectly proper political views that upset others, and in comes the Human Rights Commission, dare I say. The suppression of arguments that might be made under a whole range of headings, not just political but even religious, which our friends certainly from the Monarchist League would make about the place and role of monarchy, and I've heard them do it, and I'm not sure they get away with it again. In what way are we preparing ourselves to fight this fight yet again, as we fought it in the 90s, in a very different climate of the suppression of the very defences that we would want to mount, and which we would find it very difficult to mount on the campuses of this country, in the media of this country, or even in the active damage that is being done constantly to free speech. And I conclude by saying, you know, I come from Adelaide. We've got the newest ICAC, and with all the experience of ICACs throughout the country and the world, Adelaide has created an ICAC which is very tightly modelled on that which prevailed in Venice, circa 1500. Total secrecy, total silence, total suppression, even in the Parliament. We're having experience of that this week, where the Attorney General has tried to create some knowledge around a case that's being discussed in the media in the Parliament, but can't because the Act suppresses the Parliament. Can I throw that all in as a sort of conglomeration of my thoughts as simply a poor interstate member of the ACM?
Certainly, my Lord. I think I should answer that about ACM, and the other members of the panel will also no doubt contribute. We had at the time of the referendum foot soldiers, about 55 to 60,000 people for names, and we were able to contact them. Since then, of course, many have left this world, and the cost of contacting people in the only way which was really feasible in the 90s, a few people on email, but not everybody. The only way of reaching people was through postage, but postage is now very expensive. We must thank Nick Hobson for finding a benefactor to do a major mail out to all of those still on our list. It was a very big mail out, and it's meant that we've brought back a lot of people. We haven't got everybody, but we've brought back a lot of people who are still available because people have moved on, changed addresses and so on. So we are trying to build that up, and if you can help in building that up by encouraging people to go into the website where John, you've got that excellent method of coming into ACM through the website. That will be good. We still have, on Facebook, we still have close to 60,000 likes. They are genuine likes. Some other Facebooks in this business, and I won't name the Facebook in question, some other Facebooks, if you go into them, and I've worked out a way of finding out who are the likes, I found that an extraordinary number of likes on another website in this area consist of people who are living in Istanbul and Lahore. Now, why would so many people interested in the Australian scene relating to constitutional matters be living in those places? Well, obviously.
Outsourcing.
Yes, what they've done is they've gone to American agents where you pay a small fee per head and you get additional likes on your site. Every one of ours is genuine. Most are living, almost the totality of them, except for some expatriates in the United States and the UK. But all of ours are genuine likes, and I think those are the basis from which we will build up a vibrant organisation. The other thing, of course, is we've got the experience. We ran the referendum. We know how to do it. And the other thing is we're extraordinarily well-resourced intellectually. For example, on the head of state, we have the leading people in Australia, the leading authorities, the only authorities on the head of state, which is crucial. Australians aren't lying awake at night wondering who their head of state is. We wouldn't be bothered with this issue but for the fact that the Republicans are using this to win a plebiscite and then win a referendum, both fraudulently. So that's the situation with us. We're moving to digitalise or to fight with the assistance of digital tools, but we will fight and we will fight to win. The other thing you should remember is the polling. And polling is not that useful except for polling over time and across the polls, comparing them. In the late 90s, when the respondents to a poll were divided into age groups, the result was that the strongest concentration of constitutional monarchists tended to be in the elderly. The middle-aged tended to contain the strongest Republicans. The young were mildly Republican. What is happening, it has happened for about 5 years, an extraordinary change in that. So you've got the elderly constitutional monarchists, the middle-aged strongly Republican, the Whitlam people, I suppose, and then the young mildly Republican, thinking that monarchy's old hat, but not being very strong about it, not really caring that much about it. What we've got is an extraordinary change. In a number of polls, the young are challenging the old as supporters of the existing system, notwithstanding what's happened in the education system. Now, this means that if another referendum, as in 1999, were held, we wouldn't win 72% of the seats in Parliament. We'd win close to 80. We would do better in a referendum. That's why they're not going to hold a referendum first. They think we'll lock them in. Start out with a postal plebiscite, a shonky postal plebiscite, have a trick question, and with that build up. See, once they've got that first plebiscite, they then eliminate us, which is what Keating was going to do. The constitutional monarchists are eliminated. For example, he didn't put any, on the Republic Advisory Committee, which was to look into this question, he didn't put any constitutional monarchists on that because he said, oh, they don't want a republic, so why should they sit on it? So they didn't get anybody for us. So eliminate us in the first plebiscite. The second plebiscite then is choose the model. The New Zealand Prime Minister about the flag tried to do the same smart thing, and he fell flat on his face. He put the new flag up first to get he got people to choose a new flag first. And then the second plebiscite, or referendum, it was a plebiscite actually, the second plebiscite was vote on whether you like the new flag against the existing flag, and he fell flat on his face, and quite rightly so. The rest of the panel on this question. Yes, Nick.
Can I just get back to getting your information on the database? There are some registration forms outside. You can either register as being new, or if you think you just want to update your own data, you can do that using the same form.
Thank you.
Where do we hand them in?
You can email them or snail mail them. Or if you do it now, soon, I'll take it with me when I get home.
Okay.
Any other?
David,
Yes,
I have a very strong view about postal surveys. And it's not sour grapes. I was the national spokeswoman for Marriage Alliance. But what I saw in that postal survey is that A, your vote is not private. You're not in a booth, and so you can be influenced by all manner of things or even bullied. Secondly, there was no information booklet that went to everybody, so they didn't actually have information. And if you're being no platformed, then the public doesn't hear both sides of a case. And thirdly, I think that on such an issue, it ends up being about our constitution. So this is a way of bypassing our constitution. So I think it's very significant that we do not allow a postal survey on this issue.
There's another matter about the plebiscite. It's anti-federal because it depends on a total vote, which tends to dominate, means that New South Wales and Victoria will tend to decide it. It completely negates the role of South Australia, Western Australia, Queensland and Tasmania. So it completely goes against the whole ethos of federalism and of our constitution.